drizzles. That looks really nice.
I am the yin to her yang.
Well, you know, I cursed. So that's that mixed. We've got our white chocolate wedding rate. You know, I was like...
I am the Hastings to your Poirot.
I just really felt... It's not... I think Dan could probably drink this as it is. He loves raspberries. Actually, I really like knitting the leg of socks. Get a chart in there.
I am the Corbett to your Barker.
Oh gosh, how many more can you do? And I like then knitting the heel flap. And then to be fair, I really like picking up stitches. Before, you know, where you take a piece of baking parchment and make them. Morecambe to wise.
Yes, I'm Morecambe to your wise.
I'd be wise, wouldn't
yes.
You'd be Morecambe.
Yes.
Absolutely. I kind of like all of it. So that's a bit of a...
Welcome to episode 103.
103.
And what a show we have in store for you today. Oh my goodness. This is one of those rare shows where I have more off the needles than Kay does.
It's very true.
Oh yes, I have 4 things off the needles.
No, you don't.
I do.
No, you don't.
Well, strictly speaking, you do, don't you?
Me?
No, I do.
No, you don't have 4. Right, well, it's 4
It's 2 pairs of socks.
Thank you.
Woohoo! And not only that, but Kay has a brand new design to show you.
I do.
Which is, I mean, I was lost for words there for a moment.
Boy, yeah.
Because I don't think you've ever done a design which is so perfectly inspired by something that we've recently been to see, that you've all been to see with us.
I think that's true. Yeah,
seriously,
that's true.
That's no slight on any of your past designs.
Thank you very much.
But what I mean is, I think because I was there and because I saw, you know, the link is so easy to make. That's all to come. But not only that, summer is here. And what you don't want to do in the summer is put the oven on.
No, true.
Because it just gets all hot and sticky, doesn't it?
Yeah, it's the last thing you want to do, isn't it, to be fair?
So, we've got a pudding club for you today.
Oh, right, yes, I see where that was going.
We've got a pudding club for you today with limited cooker usage.
There isn't any oven usage.
Yeah, but there is hob usage. So when
yes, a little bit.
When I was saying cooker,
yes.
I was meaning,
right, okay.
You know...
No, you don't use the oven, but you do use the hob a little bit.
Isn't it funny? I don't know whether it's because of how I was brought up, but because I was brought up with a cooker which had a hob and a...
well... Oh, right, okay.
I wasn't brought up with separate units like we have. Do you know, we've got a separate cooker, a separate hob.
Right.
So when I think of a cooker, I think of it all.
Well, when I think of cooker, I think of the freestanding cookers that we used to have.
I'm with you. Which had a hob on the top.
Yeah, but you had your oven, you had your hob, and then you usually had the grill sort of coming up and sticking out the top.
But then as cookers got posher,
yeah,
that was like early days. So you're right, absolutely you're right in the early days.
But to be fair, can I just say, those grills were 1,000,000 times better than the grills that they're now combining to the ovens.
Yeah, because they were separate, and that was their sole job.
And that's all they had to do. And the problem with having a grill in an oven is that it's at the top of the oven, so all of your sort of cooking splattery stuff goes up. And every time you use your grill, it burns off all that and it's disgusting, and we never use it.
So they're not used. I mean, to be fair, all we ever used our grill for was toast.
Cheese on toast.
And we'd always leave it too long and it would burn. I remember one morning, me and my brother, I think we had 14 pieces of toast.
Oh my God.
It became a bit of a competition, you know, how many
you could have.
How many could we manage?
Dear me.
But if you want to talk posh, our grill, not that we ever actually used it, and I wish we had, our grill had a rotisserie in it.
Wow.
I know. It was a bit fatter, the grill on the top, so there was a little back bit, and then there was like a fatter grill, and there was the rotisserie on either side.
This is within the oven?
No, this wasn't in the oven. This was up on the grill bit.
Right.
So I would guess that the idea is,
Gosh,
well,
that's
it
very
must
posh.
be.
I don't...
Because when you see a rotisserie, there's heaters around it, isn't there? And it's...
Well, yeah, because it heats all the... Yeah.
So...
Or normally they move,
That's
don't
right.
they?
It did.
Right.
But we didn't have the bit for the chicken.
Right.
We didn't actually have the rod bit.
How do you grill with an auger? Can you actually grill? I know
No.
that actually your mum, it's the best toast in the world, I've just remembered.
Yeah, they use the heat.
They have like...
Because it's not an element.
It's like it's like a mesh sort of sandwichy thing. You put your bread in between and clamp it down and then just stick it on top of the auger and then flip it. And that made fantastic toast.
Mm.
Because the auger's a very dry heat, isn't it?
Yeah, I think it's hard to burn. It's much harder to burn.
Much harder to burn because it's not a direct. It's like
Yeah. I mean, it is really good toast actually. Birdies.
Birdies.
Yes.
Ah.
There is a proliferation of birdies.
Well, I've been putting food out this year, and I did last year as well, didn't I, to a degree, but I've put more out this year. We've got like a bird stand and we have water down for them, but this year it's just been like starlings, just masses of them. It's been freaking me out a bit.
But only when you put certain food out.
Well, they like the food that's got suet in, because it's obviously the baby starlings that are there, because you can see that their feathers aren't fully in yet, and they just go mad for the like suet cakes that have got seeds inside them. So I stopped putting out the suet and just start putting out just like wild bird seed, thinking it'd attract the smaller ones, and we did see 1 or 2 blue tits, and we see lots of sparrows.
The point, I think, for us this year, which has been great, is the fact that suddenly lots of birds have appeared.
Yes.
Because over the years, we haven't seen an awful lot of birds. So, and I think we were saying, weren't we, that because it's been such a good year for growing, clearly, because everything is growing, and the trees seem to be getting bigger quicker, and everything seems to be... Maybe that's really helped them with
maybe so, with nesting and things like that. Yeah, maybe so.
I was out running this morning, and I know this seems obvious, but I watched this bird, and I was running through some woods, and they're quite dense woods, and I watched this little bird do these most amazing manoeuvres right in front of me, round all the trees, and then land beautifully on a branch. And I just thought, how much cleverer are birds than me? Well, it's
They're
true.
designed to do that, though, aren't they? Their brains are built to do that.
I wish I had a bit of that.
Bird brain.
But
then bird brain usually means like that you're scattered and...
Well, it's wrong.
So that's kind of wrong, isn't it?
And if you think about it, a bird is moving in... I was talking to Bridie about this on the way to school, and, how amazing to think. Wouldn't it be wonderful if someone could give you a pair of wings? Because just with a slight tilt of the wing, and they do it, it's like child's play. Up and then land, lovely. And now I'll have a little eat. The one thing I wish the birds would do, though, is peck the seeds from between the paving slabs in our back garden.
Do you know what's happened? The seeds that we've been feeding them, they've dropped down onto the paving slabs, into the cracks in the paving slabs, and they're all growing, these seeds. I've no idea what they are. You've been pulling some out, haven't you?
Yeah.
We need to, and they've all popped up again. We need to go out and pull them up again.
We were watching an interesting programme the other day, and I really was genuinely interested in this, where they were talking about gardens where they'd allowed things to go to seed, the old-fashioned way of doing things. And I remember my grandpa doing that. And, he could have gone out and bought seeds, but clearly that's the way he'd been brought up to do it. And it makes me want to ask Grandpa Steve how... I think he does let certain things go to seed.
And then collect them
I'm
for next
sure
year.
he does.
Well, that's how everybody had to do it. I think it was only... I was watching that programme as well, I think.
Yeah.
But they were saying it's not that long in history going back that you were able to buy seeds. And previous to that, the only way of getting seeds was to let some of your plants go to seed and then collect the seeds for next year.
And, more people should do that.
And that's proper gardening for me, doing things like that.
I'm sure, I'm absolutely certain that at some point in my future, and I hope it's not too long a future, that gardening will have...
So weird that you say that, right?
All right.
I just went for a little walk this morning, and I was listening to a podcast, and it was this fella speaking, and at the end of this sort of like speech he did, it was about anxiety and things, and at the end of it he said to everybody, just close your eyes, and what's the first thing that you envisage? as, you know, what's just the first thing that comes into your mind. Because what he was saying was that, you know, these goals and ambitions that you have in life, you should really go for them. And the first thing that popped into my mind straight away was a lovely little house in the country, quiet, peaceful, and a garden. So that's really weird that you say that.
Yeah. Well, you know...
Because we have got a garden here, but it's not...
and it's tiny.
And it's small, so it's just not feasible to do things with that we would want to do with.
I really enjoy, though, the times when there is, you know, the few times when you've got a small garden, when there is a sort of call for stuff. I really enjoy getting my hands dirty. I think that there's definitely something to be said for getting your hands in the earth and doing some stuff. You know, I don't know whether it's some sort of connection that you make with, because it's pretty important stuff, is soil.
I'm sure your mum would say that, yeah, because...
Well, I think there's got to be, you know, when you think about the connections, you know, you think about what we do with knitting and you think about, you know, the being in the moment and all of that. Gardening's very similar, I think.
People find a lot of peace.
The similarities...
It's like it's got a meditative effect, hasn't it, being in the garden?
The similarities between gardening and knitting, I think, are huge. And I bet you there are a lot of people out there watching who are extremely keen gardeners. Yeah.
There definitely are, because I see photos of beautiful gardens, you know, from knitters. So I'm sure you're right.
Because, you know, it's the care and attention and the helping something grow.
Yeah.
And, you know, using the right skills. And, you know, I was chatting to Nana Wendy the other day a little bit about this, and she was saying to me that it's all about knowing what to do when. Yeah.
And
if you
where
do the right
in
things.
your garden as well, you know, is it north facing, is it south facing, the type of soil you've got, what does that plant like? It's all that kind of knowledge, isn't it?
But I'm loving seeing the birdies, to be honest. I really am. You know, hearing them.
Very tweety.
There's something to be said, I think, for that sort of sound.
Yeah.
That tweeting sound. And even the wood pigeons.
Oh, I love the wood pigeons. We get wood pigeons coming into the garden at sort of 6 o'clock at night, don't we?
Yeah, I think they come in the morning too. I'm sure they come in the morning too.
Well,
they come in the morning and at night.
I've seen them, but there's this
Breakfast
pair
and dinner.
that kept coming, didn't they?
Yeah.
Every night. And they're massive, fat wood pigeons.
It'd be delicious.
Beautiful. Stop it. Beautiful birds.
Absolutely. And, you know, that sound, I think, is always a happy sound. I wonder if birds get depressed.
I'm doubting it, really.
They never sound particularly depressed, do they?
They're always lovely and chirpy, aren't they? At 4:30, because you've left your windows open because it's so boiling hot, and you hear you woken at 4:30 by chirping.
Thankfully, that we won't dwell on the weather because, you know, we've spoken about it a little bit over the last couple of episodes, but thankfully, the English summer seems to have arrived when it's hot in the sun and it's cool in the shade.
It's cooler in the shade, and it's been cool at night.
We're very thankful.
It's not been humid, so
we're very thankful.
I'm very happy for that. Yeah.
Now, we're in the middle of doing a magic loop tutorial series. I'm going to show you it later.
Oh, brilliant.
I'm going to show you my magic loop sock, the progress I've made. But something arose just the other day, and it raised a really interesting point. And that is, someone quite rightly asked about how we reorientate our stitches after we've turned a heel. And what I didn't realise was that, Kate, you told me that you're quite different to a lot of people.
Well, I think, and I know from just things that people have said to me, when I knit the heel flap and gusset and then turn the heel on Magic Loop, I actually reorder the stitches after I've finished the heel turn, ready to knit the gusset decreases, and then when I finish the gusset decreases I reorder them back to how they were originally. And I know that I've had comments from people, you know, when they've worked through my patterns to say that, oh, they've never done it like that before. I think I've never done it any other way, but I think what people must do is just have the instep stitches on one needle and then all of the others on the other needle. So all of you know, your gusset decreasy stitches and your heel turn and your sort of foot of sock on the other. So you'll have a lot more stitches on one needle than the other. And then obviously that'll go down as you decrease. But I've never done it that way. And I have sometimes knit Magic Loop where you've got more stitches on one needle than the other. when you're doing things like a mitten, for example, and you're increasing for the thumb gusset, and it does get to a point where it becomes I find it really awkward to knit because you've got such a discrepancy between one needle and the other. And I just feel like I would feel that way, you know, if I knit the gusset decreases without reordering the stitches.
Yeah.
So that's why I do it. I just find it a lot more comfortable.
So what we're going to do is we're going to film an additional tutorial where we show how we reorder the stitches and reorientate them. But it was a really interesting thing for me. You know, my sort of knitting world is primarily you.
He just does what I tell him to do, basically.
And so, you know, to find out that Kay was quite different from quite a lot of people.
I don't know if I am. I don't know, actually. To be good, just to hear your comment on if you do knit socks magic loop. Do you reorder your stitches or do you not reorder your stitches when you knit?
It's a poll.
Yeah.
Tell us below.
The decreases, I'd be interested because I honestly don't know what the split is.
Well,
so it'd be good to know and give us an idea.
Out.
Yeah.
Comment below, and yeah, it would be lovely to find out and to know. But we will be doing, probably when I knit my second sock, that'll make the most sense, won't it? When I get to those points, we can use that as the tutorial sort of.
Well, I'm
item.
Almost to that point on one of my socks here, so
all right,
I could use one
maybe
of those.
we'll do that.
Yeah.
So that's to come. Anyway, there'll be a tutorial special all about reordering stitches. Did I say that right?
I think so.
Good. Talking of reordering stitches, Kay Jones, what's on your needles?
Well, I've got one new thing this time, which is an exciting new thing. But the first thing I've got to show is Goffy's Christmas blanket. Although
lovely.
I have a feeling this is going to be finished way before Christmas, so it's just whether I put it away. I should really put it away, shouldn't I?
Yeah.
Because I said it's going to be...
It'll free up time for you to do more of your
mittens.
mittens.
I've not done any more mittens. He's guilting me.
It's only June.
I know, but I've only done 3 pairs.
That's all right. 6 months.
But I've done quite a bit on this, and I've only been really knitting on it here and there. It's not been something that I've sort of worked on a lot, you know, over a certain number of days. I've just been doing bits here and there, but I think it's so sweet. I'm just so in love with it. Look.
I'll be honest with you folks, right? I can appreciate a blanket.
I know.
That's the first blanket. I looked at that this morning, I was like, oh my goodness.
It's so sweet.
Seriously, I absolutely love it.
It's lovely.
And, you know, I know it's impossible, but I said to Kate, if there was a way of making that a tablecloth, it would be amazing.
But how impractical?
It's just so pretty.
How impractical would that be as a tablecloth?
What I'm talking about is the pattern that you've created. It's the colour choices, it's the miters, it's the pattern.
So how else? And I said, you know, how else could you do that apart from in knitting? I suppose you could
print it on it.
You could use fabric, but then you'd have to knit. You'd have to sew triangles, wouldn't you, and put them in opposite ways to get it to look like a mitre. I don't even know how you would do it. That might be quite nice.
What draws me to that is the colours and the miters.
Yeah, it's just really pretty, isn't it? And I'm not consciously choosing the colours. I just sort of go to my stash of sort of leftover bits and pieces and grab a few, and then when I've knit those in, if there's any, you know, left, I'll put them back into the basket of leftovers and just pick some more. And so I'm not consciously doing anything. I'm just making sure that there's not really, two similar colours together. And I'm kind of dotting around colours like yellow. I've sort of dotted around, and I'm not really using any particularly dark shades, but there are some that are slightly darker, so I've sort of dotted those around as well. And I just think it's just so cute, and it literally takes me about 10 minutes, I think, to knit a little square. I think it's only 21 stitches I think I've done, and I'm using 2 and 2.5 millimetre, I believe. It's rubbed off. Oh no, 2.5 millimetre I think these are, just some 8-inch DPNs. So it's just a lovely thing, and I think before I'd only got 2 rows done, and there's 6 now, so it's 8 across. So I think I'll probably do it 10 or maybe 10, or I think 12 will be too long for a rectangle. I'll see what it looks like when I've got 10. And then I'm going to put a log cabin blanket border around the whole thing. I'm not sure what colour yet. I did think about using my Goffy colourway, but I think that might be a bit too bright because it does have some sort of little neon green specks in it, and I think it needs a plain border because it's so busy. So I might just choose like a soft green that matches Goffy, because Goffy's it's got like green and yellowish, green and gold spots, soft colours. Goffy's a giraffe if you're not aware of who Goffy is. So yes, I'm really, really enjoying it. It's just lovely. And I've been weaving my ends in as I go. Every time I do a row, I weave in the ends from below. So all of these get woven in after I've done the next row. And I leave, because I'm going to border this, I always leave the ends,
the final ends,
these ones on the edges, not woven in, because I find it easy to weave them in once I've actually knit on the borders. I just find that a simpler process because it's not right on an edge. So I'll do all those when I've bordered it. So it's just really lovely. I don't think I'll wash this. I was thinking, should I wash it when I've finished it? I think what I'm going to do is just lay it flat and just spritz it, just to kind of even it all out. Because it's garter, isn't it? And it doesn't really need blocking as such. But I think I will just lay it out and just give it a nice spritz, just to sort of even everything out. It's just lovely. It's one of those kind of really relaxing projects that's just nice to pick up and put down when you've got 10 minutes or 20 minutes and do a square or two. And it was inspired by the ones that Nicole has made or is making from the Gentle Knitter, and then also Jules, So Sweet Violet, is doing like a mini version of her bigger mitre square blanket. And I'll just carry on with that, and then I will put it away for Christmas. I think I tend to be terrible at these things, and if I finish something I'll want to give it to, saving something is really difficult for me, but I should put it away because Goffy...
Unless it's a pair of socks before you've shown them on the podcast. Then you save them, no problem.
Oh yeah.
No, Bridie.
No, you can't wear those socks. She's still wearing socks and it's boiling hot.
I took mine off for you to put on the bike.
She still puts her wool socks on when she gets home from school.
Yeah, I don't think you can ever go back. You really can't. I tried wearing bought socks earlier this summer. It just didn't work for me.
I only wear bought socks. Like this morning when I went for a walk, I wear just some thin bought socks inside my walking shoes.
Yeah. Did you enjoy your walk?
I did enjoy my walk, yes.
Do you know what? There is something unbelievably powerful in a morning excursion.
Yeah. It wasn't as long as I probably would have liked it to be because I was getting really hot, because it's really hot out. But it was about 35 minutes maybe.
Well, that's perfect.
Walk. Yeah.
30 minutes is the sort of...
They say 30 minutes, don't
get your heart rate up for 30 minutes.
Yeah, it was really nice, and I listened to a podcast. You always listen to music, don't you, when you're running? And I don't listen to music.
That's only... Look, if I'm out walking, if I was on my own, I probably wouldn't be listening to music.
Right.
I'd probably listen to a podcast.
Maybe that's the difference.
The reason why I'm listening to music, and it's a particular type of music, is something we've spoken about before, is you listen to music, your heart rate adjusts to the speed of that music.
Right.
So that's why people make workout, CDs and downloads that you buy, because it gets your heart rate up.
I find it a really good time to listen to... I've been listening the past few months to a podcast called The Anxiety Podcast. I don't know if any of you listen to it. It's been around for quite a few years. It's a fella in his sort of early 40s. He lives in Canada now, but he's English. And he's been doing this podcast for 3 or 4 years, I think, now. And I've listened to a lot of them over the past few months, and I'm now kind of up to speed. I've missed out quite a lot of them, but I'm kind of listening to current ones. And the one today that I listened to, he played an interview, not an interview, he played like a speech that was given on, do you know those TEDx YouTube videos? It was one of those, and it was by this really young guy who was only 20, I think. And it was his experiences of anxiety and what he did to overcome it. And it was really, really interesting. I listened to it actually twice. It was only about 15 minutes. I just find it a really good time walking and listening to 1 or 2 of those podcasts. And I find it really calming and meditative to do that.
And I think
a really
morning,
good thing.
morning is such a key time.
Because it sets you up for the day then, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Instead of like racing around first thing in the morning, which is what I've been doing lately, and then I'm in kind of this frantic mode, and I've been very much like that lately, and it's not been doing me any good at all.
And actually what you'll find is you'll be more productive.
Yeah, well, yeah, absolutely. You think you're being more productive, don't you, by rushing around and rushing around. And I've just had to say to myself lately that I've just got to try and slow a little bit.
The most important thing to do before you do anything is to make sure you're in the best possible frame of mind.
Yeah.
And if you do anything other than that, it will always end in tears. You'll always end up...
Which it usually does with me, to be fair.
Being in a worse situation. So, if you can... I've had a couple of weeks where I haven't been able to run because I had an Achilles injury. And, I got that through total stupidity, trying to be frugal with a pair of shoes when I should have just got a new pair.
Told him to get a new pair.
Anyway, got this Achilles injury, not being able to get out and do it. And I can't even begin to tell you how it's just awful. So what that shows you is the power, as you've just experienced this morning, of getting out first thing in the morning, fresh air in your lungs, bit of exercise.
Yeah, it's definitely
your whole body's going then.
It's definitely something that and I keep saying to you, don't I? I've been saying to Dan lately, I need to make some changes, and then I never do anything because I get so embroiled in the day and, have 20 things on my list to do and all the rest of it. So, but I did this morning, and I went and it was really good. So that should be a lesson to me, really, that I just need to do.
Yeah.
I need to do that. I need to do it every day. Dan Jones.
Yes.
What's on your needles?
There we go. Look, this isn't. Have I shown this?
I don't know that you have shown. I think you might have shown just the bottom bit of ribbing, which was very dull.
Perhaps you saw the ribbing, which, as Kay said, is highly boring. This is another Mon Ami hat. It is my plan to get my colour work nailed, or get it as close to being acceptable by the time I get to the yoke on my colour work sweater. It's such fun to knit, it really is.
I enjoy it. I've only knit one, but I really enjoyed it. I need to knit another, actually.
And doing a second one, the knowledge, it's just so vast. I couldn't work out before. I'd get to a stitch and it'd be loose. And, there'll be so many of you thinking, what? Well, it's obvious what the problem is. I had no clue. So I'd get to a stitch and be like super loose. I'd be like, what haven't I properly done right that has caused this stitch to look like it was? And that was the problem, the other one. There was lots of loose stitches. Now, there still is on this, but it's getting better. And my understanding of what's going on is getting better. And I think I'm doing a better job.
It's definitely better, yeah.
I know it's still got a ways to go, but thankfully...
No, it looks definitely
my sweater's got a ways to go, so, it's not a problem. That's the other thing, which is really good. I'm now being able...
Oh, it looks lovely, the dark and the green.
It really does,
Doesn't it look nice? And I was worried that those colours might be a bit grungy.
It is, of course, drops elastic.
It's really nice. This is one of my designs that will be the September-ish platinum pattern for our patrons. And I called it Mon Ami because it was inspired by Murder on the Orient Express, the Kenneth Branagh version.
What I'm enjoying about knitting this for the second time is I'm now able to understand why it looks the way it looks. So what I mean by that is if I'm getting, an issue here or there with my gauge, I'm, able to sort of, take a step back, okay, loose stitch, okay, why has that happened? Okay, I understand why that's happened now. I've even been able to maybe adjust and even out some of the stitches after I've knit around, and I've never ever been able to do that before. I've never really known how to do that. But the other thing which I've started doing, which came from advice from one of the viewers of it's Journey to the Centre of the Yoke, not Return to the Centre of the Yoke. That's next year's show. No, it isn't. One of the viewers,
be an expert by then.
One of the viewers of Journey to the Centre of the Yoke said to me to spread the stitches out, and I've started doing that, and that's really helped. So I think it was 2 or 3 people who mentioned that as a really good thing to do, and I've being able to do that now, and because a lot of the time with knitting, what can your brain remember whilst managing the yarn, stopping it getting tangled, reading the pattern, all those things. So repetition for me with this really has proved to be just superb. And when you combine with that a pattern which is just fun, it's just fun to knit.
You like it, don't you?
I really do. It sort of shifts once you get going. It's a fairly quick knit.
And I knit mine. The first one I knit was like a weekend, wasn't it? I knit it.
It was.
Started it one day and finished it the next.
But that first one I knit, it was a good size, wasn't it?
Yeah, it came out bigger than mine, but I gave you a bigger needle size because I wanted you to do that because I didn't.
It's perfect.
I knew I needed to adjust the needle size, so it was good for you to do that, so I could see the difference in size.
That looks flatter than it did before. I know it's not perfect.
It's better. It's definitely better than it was.
Because it was more.
Yeah.
It was more
puckered.
So there still is, issues.
But some of that will even out with a good wash, good soak.
But once I get through this, by the end of this, hopefully, I think the mistake I made was I should have got going on this quicker. I mean, it is fairly quick because I've only really but I think if I just blitzed straight into it, because early stages, you're just finding your feet again. It's so frustrating. But it's like anything.
It's practice.
It's any new technique.
Yeah.
Sorry, what were you going to say?
No, I was just going to say this is the yarn. It's the Drops Alaska that was spoken about quite a lot before. And the dark sort of charcoaly colour is number 5. And the green is number 45. The green is what I used for Dan's vest. So it's leftovers from the vest. You're mad because you can't wear it because it's too hot.
Want to wear my vest.
But if you really like, darker, if you like greys, neutrally colours, this one is beautiful because it's very heathered. It's really lovely and it's great yarn, we've said this before.
And I'm becoming a bit of an advocate of any type of knitting that can be done with yarn that you can split splice.
Oh yeah, I know, that's always good.
If you can split splice it, then I can actually see me getting to a point where I will only knit with yarns.
Well, that's the only yarns I will give you for garments, I think, because I just prefer garments in a non-superwash yarn. I think they wear better. I think they last forever. They look great for longer. You don't have to depill them as much as a superwash yarn. So yeah, I think it's a good
What
idea.
else is on your needles?
Well, this is something really exciting and very cute. I was in the post office last week, I think, and I'm in the post office a lot. And our post office here is lovely. It's a little tiny post office. It's only a 5-minute walk just across the road.
Oh, goodness.
And I'm very grateful for it because a lot of small post offices these days are closing. And I'm very grateful that one is right there. And there's 3 ladies that work in there. And they're all really nice and really helpful, and they're really great with me because they let me just leave the parcels, they deal with them, and then I just go back the next day to pay. And I was chatting to the lady that actually owns the franchise of that post office, and she's really lovely, and she's got grown-up children, and she was telling me that her daughter was pregnant, and it was her first grandchild, and she was so excited. She was so excited about this baby. She can knit, but she doesn't really, and she's not very good, she said. But she'd been trying to knit a baby jumper and cardigans and things like that, but she was really struggling. She got a friend who was knitting a baby blanket and things like that. So I came home, and actually I was chatting with her as well, and it turned out that her daughter has got the same condition that I had when I was pregnant. I had a liver condition that you can get when you're pregnant, and I was in hospital for quite a long time. I was induced 4 weeks early, and then I had to have an emergency C-section. It was all fairly traumatic, to be honest. And it turns out she's got this same liver condition. I think things have moved on medically since I had it. I mean, it's 13 years ago when I had it. And I did take a drug whilst I was in hospital, but I remember them saying to me that it was a new drug and that it was fairly... they weren't sure about whether...
Side effects.
It's the side effects and things like that. But I did take it, and it did keep my levels at a sort of manageable level. But she was saying that her daughter isn't in hospital. She just has to go into hospital 3 times a week, I think she said, just to get her levels checked. And she is taking a drug for it. So I think, it's great that obviously medicine has moved on since I had it. But anyway, I was just like, oh gosh, and I came home and I said to Stan, do you know what? I want to knit a baby cardigan because it's just, I could do, it's something I can do. And I feel like they do so much for me, helping me with postage and things, that I wanted to do that. So I came home, I looked through a load of patterns and I've started knitting a baby cardigan and it's just really lovely. She said her daughter likes modern, neutral colours. Nothing they don't know if it's a girl or a boy, so something that is good for girls or boys, but something modern. She didn't want, pastel colours. So I had a look around and had a think, and I bought some yarn, and I'm using Drops Merino Extra Fine. It's a DK, it's a super wash, but it's super soft. I wanted something that could go in the washing machine, obviously, but that was wool. I didn't want to use acrylic. So I'm using this yarn, and it's lovely. This colour is number 8, and it's like it's grey, but it hints to sort of a beige. It's like a beigey greyish, would you call that? And then I put in a little contrast on it. So I chose this sort of mustard, which I thought was very in vogue. I know mustard's a very popular colour at the moment, isn't it? So I chose this mustard because I thought that was good for a girl or a boy. I'm hoping I'm right with that. And the mustardy colour is number 30. And I'm knitting I'm not going to say this right, Pure Perium. You all know, it's got almost 10,000 projects. It's a free pattern on Ravelry. I'm knitting that one. Because again, I think this is good for a girl or a boy. I really struggled to find a cardigan pattern actually that didn't look girly. Jumpers, yeah, but I didn't want to knit a jumper. I think jumpers for a tiny baby are just awkward, aren't they, getting them on and off. I wanted to do a cardigan, but I thought this one was sort of gender neutral. And I've started knitting it, and I'm just about to take off the sleeve stitches. So this is where I'm at. Look how cute. I've decided there's like a little garter band around the neck and then around the sleeve cuffs and the ribbing at the bottom. So I thought I'll do that in the mustard as a little contrast. And I think, because when I first looked at it, I thought, oh, is that too boyish? But I think it's okay, isn't it? I would wear these colours, and I'm a girl, so I'm sure it will be fine. It's a bit awkward to show because I haven't taken off those sleeve stitches yet, but you get the kind of idea. And I really like, she gets you to do a slip stitch edging down here. And I think that looks really neat and professional. That's the little buttonholes that are coming in that you might not be able to see them, but there's 3 buttonholes I've done there so far. And it's a really pleasant knit. It's really lovely. Very simple. Not had any problems with the pattern. There's been a couple of things that's made me think with the pattern, but nothing that stopped me, in my tracks or anything like that. And I really like the contrast. I think that's really pretty. And it's only designed for a newborn size, this free version. So I think it says, what weight of a baby? 7 to 9 pounds in weight. But when she said about her daughter having this condition, and that she did say likely they will induce her early, with me they induced me 4 weeks early, so I'm guessing that might be the case with her daughter, in which case I know the baby's going to be on the small side. Bryony was just short of 6 pounds. So I think that will be perfect for the first sort of couple of months of the baby's life. Lovely. So, yeah.
And you can follow the whole progress from start to finish in a very special series that we filmed that's going out in August.
Yeah. It's it's a really nice knit, and and I know I've said before I'm not a garment knitter, but this is a baby cardigan and it's not very big, and it's the sort of garment that I can definitely get on with, because it progresses quickly and it's so cute. Isn't it? And
it's the perfect follow-on as well from that series which you did 3 years ago. Which
is it 3 years ago?
Which was the Baby Sophisticate.
I did the Baby Sophisticate. Do you all think I'm stupid knitting things for Goffy and Big Teddy and... Honestly. And I've really enjoyed knitting this, so I think to knit another one, I think would be really nice, and maybe I'll do it in sort of festive colours. Maybe I'll knit him a nice red jumper with a white collar or something, and maybe dress him up a bit like Santa. Oh, crazy, aren't I? I'm absolutely off my trolley. So there we go. I'm using Chow Goose 4mm as the pattern suggests. I didn't do a gauge swatch because, quite honestly, I couldn't be bothered, and I just thought I might as well just start knit an inch or so and then measure my gauge, because that's as much knitting as knitting a gauge swatch. So that's what I did, and my gauge at the moment is about a stitch too tight over the 4 inches. But once I've washed this and blocked it, I'm sure it will be spot on. I won't have a problem. So
cool.
Lovely.
It's my Magic Loop sock that we were talking about earlier. This is Hermione's Everyday Socks, and I've done a slightly different heel, and now I wish I'd done the one from Hermione's Everyday.
Which one did you do?
Just a note.
Oh, it's a knife partridge, but with... You missed a slip stitch there.
Great.
It's knife partridge, but without the garter edging.
I mean,
well, it doesn't look. It doesn't matter, does it? It doesn't matter, does it?
How annoying.
I don't think anybody's going to come and look at the heel of that sock and say, "Oh my word, you've missed a slip stitch."
What, like you just did?
Well, that's me, isn't it? I'll be wearing them, so I'm cool with it.
And the whole time she'll be thinking, that little ache in the back of my foot, that's that missed slip stitch. That blister that I got on that walk.
That's that.
I'm not wearing those socks anymore.
Yes.
But there they are. I really do feel like I'm getting a handle on the technique. I definitely do.
They look great. I was looking at them last night, and they look great.
That's cool. I mean, I'm going to hang fire until I finish knitting it before I Look, the point of this is for me to learn how to do Magic Loop properly, and that's what's happening, because I feel like it's a technique that I need to know. At this stage, I would say I definitely prefer DPN sock knitting. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to finish the process, and then I'm going to give you my full thoughts, because I've gone into this with an open mind. I absolutely have. I mean, this was the way I used to knit socks. I've been doing a few things in the process of knitting them, like timing myself on rounds and you know, all sorts of other little different things. So at the end of this process...
Oh, that was fun.
Don't say what my result was, but talk all you like about it.
We both knit around on a sock. We both had Magic Loop socks.
I know you're way faster than me.
And we said, and you were timing yourself, and Bryony said, "Oh, you do a round at the same time, Mummy." And we're like, "Oh gosh."
Are you sure? I thought you just set about doing it.
Did I?
Yeah.
Bryony was excited about it though.
Yeah. She was, but I think you just set about doing it.
Okay.
You just went, "Oh, I'm going to do it too."
Oh, all right. So I timed myself, and then you timed yourself, and yeah.
No. Let's be honest here. I started first. I was already timing myself.
Yeah.
Kay started timing herself, finished, and then I finished timing myself. But I don't care.
Well, no, it was just a bit of fun.
Yeah, it was a bit of fun.
I don't care about speed. I've said
that
several times before. I don't knit for speed at all. I knit for the pleasure and the joy of knitting.
And I think, personally, the day that I start knitting for speed is the day I need to stop knitting.
Yeah.
Because that's when it stopped being about what it is for me, and that is the process and how it makes me feel. But I'm so much quicker than I was a year ago. And I'm a quicker knitter because of the Dan Lara project. And I think that's interesting, because that was all DPN knitting. I'm at least 30% quicker than I was.
I'd say so.
I might even be 40% quicker.
You're much quicker, but that's not through trying. That's just from it's just from the repetitive nature of it. You just naturally get quicker, don't you?
I'm certain that the reason why I'm quicker is because of the increased dexterity that I had to learn through operating DPNs. I'm sure that that's it, because my hands are more, I'm more able to control what's going on. So I think because of that increase in, muscle activity and in, the things that we use to knit with, that's why I'm a little bit quicker. What else is on your needles?
Well, the last thing I've got to show you today is a sock. These, I should say, are my comfort socks. Comfort sock and wool colour socks that I've showed you before. And this is a yarn I was trying out in my sort of quest for another German yarn, the whole opal thing, which I won't go into again. This is the first one, and I love it. I think it's really nice. I've washed and blocked this first sock because I was so eager to see how it washed up that I actually washed and blocked the first sock. So here it is. Oh, I think it's lovely. I was going to do a contrast toe with this same heel yarn, but the reason I didn't is because it would have started sort of halfway through this pink stripe here, and I couldn't deal with the sort of unevenness of not having a full stripe before the toe. So I just thought, oh, I'm just going to carry on, and I think it's fine, isn't it? It makes the last sort of stripes a bit wider, doesn't it, because you've got less stitches, but I think it's absolutely fine. And it just looks so pretty. It washed and blocked really nicely. It just feels like it's just going to be a really nice, hard-wearing pair of socks, and it's fun to knit. And that's all I want really out of a sock yarn, that it's fun to knit, and it produces a pair of socks that are going to wear really nicely and be pleasant on the feet, and I'm certain these will be. I used a Drops Fable for the heel. I'm actually knitting the heel on the other one at the moment, so it's attached, but I'm using this Drops Fable, and it's colour number 101, which I think is just described as beige, but I don't think this is, to me this is not beige, this is more of a sort of mushroomy colour. It's just a really nice neutral, and I think this would go with any colour. I really like a heel colour that, you know, when you find one that you think, oh, I could use that with any sort of colours, and I think it would go. So I'm going to keep this ball, you know, specifically for heels, I think. And it's a really nice plump yarn, Drops Fable. It's obviously very cheap. It seems to, you know, it knits up really nicely, and it's definitely a bit thicker than the Comfort, but for a heel that is perfect, isn't it, to have that bit more cushy fabric. So that's where I am on the second one. I'm just working down the heel flap. I love knitting the heel flap actually. I think it was Amy Exterminate. She put a post up recently on Instagram saying how she loved knitting the leg of a sock. That was her favourite bit of sock knitting. And I'd have to agree actually. I really like knitting the leg of socks. And I like then knitting the heel flap. And then to be fair, I really like picking up stitches. I kind of like all of it. But yeah, I do really like knitting the legs of socks. I think it's kind of exciting, isn't it, and fresh and new, and it's just a nice thing to do. So I'm using Chowgoo Mini Twists 2.25mm, and these are just 64 stitches, and I'm just doing a normal slip stitch heel, nothing fancy, and I'm doing a square heel turn. But I've used my umbrella toe, which is in the drippity drop pattern, and it will also be in the new pattern that I will show you a little bit later. So yeah, I'm really enjoying it, and I know a lot of people actually went out and bought some of this yarn after I showed it, so I think that's great, and I'm sure that you will enjoy it. I'm sure you will. I hope you do, you know, and let me know how you get on if you're trying it. But I will definitely buy this again. I do have another ball, but it's one that has cashmere in it. It's not this same base, it's Comfort but with cashmere. So I do have another ball of this, and I'll definitely knit it up for you probably, because there's a sort of a greeny and browny coloured stripes. So just a really lovely, pleasant knit, and I want to get on and finish the second one now. Yeah.
Look at that!
Oh my word! You've done loads. I haven't seen that for ages.
I have done loads.
That's amazing.
I'm in the zone.
Look at that. What will this colour be like on me? Will it be alright?
Yeah.
I don't know that I've ever worn this colour.
It's lovely. It is lovely.
Okay.
Yes.
Right, cool.
I do.
It's a beautiful colour. Oh, I want to wear it Christmas Day at your mum's.
Okay.
Will you have it done by then?
Yeah, okay.
6 months.
Okay, I will. Yes.
Oh, that would be really nice. I'm hoping. Yeah, I mean, this one looks bigger than the other, doesn't it? Look.
Yeah.
It looks miles bigger than the other, which is great.
No cable's sucking it in.
No.
In fact, there's lace pushing it out.
Yeah. Well, lace always has some stretch, doesn't it? So I will block it, because I do prefer a slightly loose-fitting jumper, I've got to say. It
takes time, I think, to get in the lace zone. But once your brain, it did for me with speargrass. But once it's in it, it's really, really in it. It's like the most therapeutic, lovely process ever. It honestly is.
I believe you.
It just makes you... And lacing a jumper, I love it. It just works. And just everything about the little flowery sort of design.
It's so pretty.
It's super pretty.
It's definitely my kind of jumper, that. It's just pretty and pretty colours.
And, there's nothing tedious about the knitting at all.
That's great you've said that, because you've done quite a chunk now. You've done quite a lot of repeats. So.
It's becoming less tedious. Well, no, it was never tedious.
It's in your brain more. Is that what you mean?
To an extent. Tedious is the wrong word. Initially, it was just learning. It was learning it.
More repetitive.
I was having to concentrate too hard.
Right.
And, that created, sort of brain meltdown. And, you're like, oh. And, you push through the wall, and then, you come out the other side and you're just off. You really are just off. And I think that there's something special about the ability to not memorise, but get a lace row into your head. I think when it's in, I think you've done a good job. I find it much harder to get one of those rows in. I think it's because I'm not as used to doing, all the things that you have to do with lace than I am, say, with cables. I'm so used to that it sort of comes as a second nature. Whereas this, it doesn't. I want this to be second nature. But then, it's like juggling balls, isn't it? Because I want cables to stay strong, and I wouldn't want to let them. So you're always trying to. I remember actually a tutor of mine from years and years ago said that learning something is all about getting a snowball, and you start off with the little bits of information, and you then roll in the snowball. And if you stop rolling the snowball, it'll start to melt, and you'll start to lose bits of that information. So always for me, what I'm trying to do is all the different snowballs of information that make up my knitting knowledge, I want to keep them rolling. And, it's how you keep them rolling without one of them, especially on days like today, one of them starting to melt a bit. And, that is the challenge for learning anything. Because I think he was right. He was bang on the money, In summary, this is a great pattern. I have no issues. I've not had any issues with any of it.
I don't think you have.
Animals, you've done a great job. And I'm loving knitting it.
And are you working from the chart or the written instructions?
A mixture of both.
Right.
And I would guess a lot of people do that.
Do you think?
I do. I think people...
Really? I always presume people were either chart lace knitters or written instruction lace knitters. But maybe I'm wrong, maybe.
Maybe there are. But I just think it's interesting that I've sort of slipped into a bit of both. It's funny because cables I'm sort of chart all the way. But maybe it's because my knowledge... Well, no, it isn't, because it's right there.
I mean, with that, the lace chart's directly next to the written instructions, so I suppose it's easy just to...
If you're, like, super tired and you're thinking, if I'm not feeling confident when I start a row, and you're thinking, I don't want to make a mistake, it's so easy. It's just easy just to glance over and it's there.
Yeah.
I would guess that there's many, many lace knitters out there who could read that as fast as they could read that.
Yeah, I'm sure.
So in time...
I think people's brains must work in a different way. Do you know, if you...
No, it's just understanding a language. It's like learning to read music.
Yeah.
Or learning to read French. Once you've...
I think for me it's that I have to remember what each of the symbols stand for.
But with practice, just like music,
it is
French,
practice, yeah.
any of it, you'll stop having to think.
Yeah. And I just never learnt that way as well. I just always... So I suppose if it's different to how you originally learnt something, then it's more tricky to get to grips with, I think, isn't it?
So there it is. It's wonderful. And, I wish I could show it to you next episode, but...
It's the Solia. Did we even say that?
It's the Solia, yeah, by
I don't know if we even said that.
It's the Solia by Animalts, and you can follow every stage of my journey in Journey to the Centre of the Yoke.
And what's the yarn? Did you say what the yarn was?
The yarn is...
Drops Charisma, which is a DK I was just thinking what the difference between mine and yours is, but mine is a merino. This won't be a merino, but it's Drops Charisma Superwash DK weight yarn, and it's mustard. Is that golden sort of colour? I'm sure it's colour. Well, I don't want to say the colour number because I'm not sure of the number, but I'm sure that goldy colour is mustard or light mustard or something like that.
Forget all of that, because it's now time to journey over to the Bakery Bears Pudding Club. And we had no idea at all that in the process of doing this wonderful cake, we would uncover the oldest recipe that we've done so far this series. And we're talking the oldest recipe probably by about 2,000 years.
And we never would have thought that, and I'm sure that you won't think that when we say what it is.
Well, we won't even say what it is. We'll let you tell everyone what it is when the show starts right now.
I think it's been way too long since we did some baking. We want to share with you some of the tastes of our childhood. These were the dishes that were served to us by our mums and our grandmas. We know our favourites, but we would love to know yours. So we're going to bake all of our favourite puddings. And at the end of the series, you can vote for your favourite. This year, why don't you join me for the Bakery Bears Pudding Club? So come on, let's get baking! Just take a look at this. There is nothing quite so decadent and delicious as a cheesecake. It is of course loved by so many across the world, but where does it come from? Would you believe that it's Greece? Evidence suggests it originated on the Greek island of Samos. Archaeologists have found cheesecake moulds that date back to 2000 BC. The Greeks considered it a superb source of energy, and there is evidence to suggest it was served to the athletes at the very first Olympic Games in 776 BC. When the Romans conquered Greece in 146 BC, the recipe for cheesecake was seen as a spoil of war, and the Roman politician Cato is credited with being the first man to write down the recipe. As the Roman Empire expanded, cheesecake spread across Europe and everybody loved it. So much so that regions started experimenting and adding their own special ingredients. In 1545, the very first cookbook was printed and cheesecake was in it. Henry VIII adored it, and his chef played a huge part in creating the dish we all love to eat today. As Europeans began to emigrate to America, they took the recipe for this wonderful dish with them. I never would have guessed how rich of a history cheesecake has. And now I want to eat one, so let's get baking. Okay, so what ingredients are we going to need for this yummy cheesecake? So to start off with, we're going to need some butter, 60 grams of butter. We then need digestive biscuits, just plain digestive biscuits, and you're going to need 150 grams of those. You'll need some white chocolate, 200 grams of white chocolate, which to me is 2 bars. They come in 100 grams over here, and I'm using Green and Black's organic, which is a more expensive brand, but it's really nice, this one. I find that some white chocolates are just overly sweet. This one to me tastes like vanilla ice cream. It's really lovely. So we've got 200 grams of that. We then need some double cream, 300 millilitres of double cream, mascarpone, 250 grams of that, and it's the full fat that you need. I'm sorry everybody, you're just going to have, this is a treat, I would say. If you're worried about the calories, just have a smaller piece maybe, but you'll need full fat mascarpone. Some icing sugar, you only need a little bit of icing sugar. You're also just going to need a little bit of demerara sugar. Demerara sugar, if you don't know, is the sugar, it's like a granulated, quite a chunky granulated sugar, but it's brown. And it just tastes really nice. It's got like a caramelly taste. So a little bit of Demerara sugar. And then some raspberries. I've got 500 grams altogether here, split into 2 lots of 250. And I'll explain why once we get going. And the last thing is just some vanilla extract that we'll need as well. So what baking notions will we need for our cheesecake? Not too much actually, but there is just one thing that's sort of fairly essential, I would say. And to make the raspberry coulis, we're going to need a blender, and we've just got one of these little blenders that we kind of use for everything, to be honest. We make breadcrumbs in it, blend herbs, everything goes into this. So you're going to need a little blender or mini chopper or whatever you call them. And then the tin that we're going to use it's one of the springform ones. So it's a loose bottom and it's 8 inches or 20 centimetres. And what you need to have done with that is just buttered the base and put in a piece of baking parchment, just a circle of baking parchment on the bottom. So that's all ready to go. And then just a couple of bowls for mixing, just Pyrex bowls for mixing. And spoons and things obviously, but that's the basics of what we're going to need. Okay, so let's get baking. Okay, so the first thing that we're going to do is we've got to make the biscuit base for the bottom of our cheesecake. So to do that, I've put all of the biscuits just into a freezer bag, and I'm just going to bash them with a rolling pin. Now you could, I suppose, do this in the blender, but the problem is you will end up with kind of biscuit dust rather than, you know, crumbs, which is what we want. And it's quite nice to have a sort of more uneven texture, I find. It gives it a bit of bite at the bottom rather than it just being biscuit dust. And it's really fun to do. I really enjoy doing this. So we're just going to bash the biscuits basically. And I'm just doing this with the end of a rolling pin. But any sort of wooden implement will suffice. And like I said, we're not aiming for dust, we just want crumbs. And if you've got 1 or 2 bigger lumps, that's fine. You don't want great big pieces. Like we don't want them that size. But it's fine if you've got some bigger than others. Yep. So what we're going to do is going to add that to the butter, which I've melted, as you can see. I just melted it in the microwave. Be careful if you're doing that, just keep an eye on it, you know. It'll burn quite easily if you don't keep an eye on it, but I just find it easy just to melt it in the microwave. So we're going to add our biscuit crumbs to our butter. And then to that, we're just going to add a tablespoon of the demerara sugar. And give that all a mix. So you can see we've got different sort of textures. If you see any bigger bits like that, just crush them with your spoon as you're mixing, because we don't want huge massive bits, but it doesn't matter if it's a bit rubbly. So you really want to mix them well into that butter. You want the butter to coat all of the biscuit. It's a big bit, let's just get rid of that. There we go. So now we're going to bring over our tin. I was just getting rid of that big bit that was there. Bring over our prepared tin, and we're just going to pile it all in. It smells so nice. It smells lovely actually. Biscuits and butter. It's going to smell nice, isn't it? So just spread it out, and then using the back of your spoon, push it down. So we really want to compact it down to give a nice firm base. So I tend to kind of go over it all first, and and then go back over it again just to smooth it off and level it off. So that's nice and pressed down, and you can see it's a lovely texture on the bottom because it's not all, you know, it's not biscuit dust as we said. You're going to get nice little bits of crunch when you eat into that because we've got different shapes of biscuit. So really make sure it's nice and pressed down. So that now needs to go into the fridge and just to chill whilst we are preparing the topping. So the first thing we need to do is we need to melt the white chocolate. So to do this, I've got a Pyrex bowl over some simmering water. Don't let the bowl touch the water. It's just the steam that's heating up the bowl. Now you can melt chocolate in the microwave, but it's a bit of a dodgy business because it can seize. And by that I mean that it goes into kind of like this solid lump and the butters kind of separate out. So the safest way to melt chocolate, you know, with the least risk, is to do it in a bowl over a pan of simmering water. So we're just going to break the chocolate into chunks. This green and blacks is so nice. It's got, I mean, you can see it has vanilla running through it, and it's just so lovely. If you like white chocolate and you've never tried this, I would really recommend it. So just break it into chunks, pop it into your bowl. It's as simple as that. And if you think you don't like white chocolate, don't be put off by the fact that there's white chocolate in there, because what the white chocolate is doing basically is giving us sweetness. So you can see this is melting lovely and quickly. So just keep giving it a stir. It'll just take a few minutes to melt. Okay, so the chocolate's all lovely and melted. It just took literally a few minutes. And we're just going to take this off the heat now and just let it cool for 5 minutes. So whilst your chocolate is just having a bit of a cool, but a bit of a chill, we're just going to mix up the actual cheesy sort of base. So we need our mascarpone, our cream, and then we'll also just need that vanilla. So all we're going to do is we're just going to put the cream and the mascarpone into the bowl and give it a mix just to incorporate both the ingredients. So we're just going to plop that in. Comes out very easily. Make sure you get it all. There we go. And then the cream as well. This is exactly the right amount that I need. There's 300 ml. Double cream. So that goes in as well. Okay, so we've got our mascarpone cheese, we've got our double cream, and then we're just going to put in about a teaspoon of vanilla extract. I've got vanilla paste here, which tends to be more intense than extract, so I'm just going to judge it by eye. And just give that all a nice mix, just to loosen up the mascarpone for starters, because it's quite a solid substance, and just incorporate it into the cream. I like to use a spatula to do this. I just find it easy because you can kind of cut through it and then mix. So you can see now it's lovely and incorporated, and you've got this really gorgeous, unctuous, I would probably call it, mixture. And this in itself, if you tasted this now, it wouldn't be sweet at all. You know, the cheese is not sweet, and cream by itself really isn't sweet. I don't think of it as a sweet thing. So it's the white chocolate that's going to give us the sweetness. So we're now going to make the raspberry coulis. Okay, so to make the coulis, really, really simple. We've got our blender. We're going to put in a tablespoon of icing sugar. And then half of the raspberries, and that's why I'd split them into 2 halves. When I split them, when I was looking through the packs, I chose the ones that were a bit more mushy for the coulis because it doesn't matter. And I chose the prettiest ones to be the ones that go on top. So these just go into the blender. There we go. You can see that one's super mushy, but it just helps our cause at this stage. And now we're just going to whiz that together into a liquid. Okay. Ooh, look at that. Looks lovely. So take out the blade. And we now need to sieve it just to get rid of all the raspberry seeds. Now normally you would be totally prepared and have a proper sieve to hand. However, I didn't, and all I've got is a tea strainer. Mine will take a little while because I'm just using a ridiculous little sieve, but we're just going to sieve it basically. So if you get a spoon and just help it through. You just want to make sure you've got all of the sauce through and all you're left with is sort of seedy mush. Let's get the last of it from underneath. Let's get rid of that and that. So there we've got our absolutely gorgeous raspberry coulis. So what we're going to do now is we're going to combine our now cooled white chocolate into the cheese mixture. So just pour that in and just give that a nice mix. Aren't these colours lovely together? I know they're all just sort of creamy colours. I think they just look beautiful together. I think this would make a lovely dessert for any kind of summer gathering that you might have, special occasions. It's, you know, when we've finished it, it is quite, you know, a fabulous thing to look at. So definitely it would be great for a special occasion. So that's all mixed and ready. So now we need to get our base out of the fridge. And this is nice and cold. So we're going to put half of the mixture into the cheesecake, into the container. Mix about half. Spread it around. That's probably about half. So just even that off, because now what we're going to do is we're going to take some of our coulis, I'm going to make some holes in here and we're going to dribble the coulis into the holes. So just get the end of a teaspoon and make little holes. So go down to the biscuit base, wiggle your teaspoon around until you make a little hole like that. And just go around and do, you know, there's no particular number of these, but just go all the way over the cheesecake in sort of regular spots, making little holes. And what this will do is when we cut into it, we'll get a kind of little surprise raspberry ripple running through it. Now to get the raspberry coulis into the little holes, you could use a teaspoon, you could just make a piping bag, or if you've got piping bags already at home, feel free to use that. I'm going to use a syringe. I've got these just little syringes. Obviously there's no needle on there, you know, it's just the plastic bit, just from Amazon. And I'm going to use a syringe and syringe it in. I thought that might be fun. And just, there we go. I thought this would work, and it does. That's fun, isn't it? And again, your children would love to do this, wouldn't they? Syringing in the coulis. It's much easier than, I think, trying to make a piping bag, because I have made those before, you know, where you take a piece of baking parchment and make one kind of origami style. I've never been able to do it properly, it always leaks. So now we're going to put the rest of the cheesecake mixture on top and try not to disturb. I mean, it doesn't matter. The idea is that it's going to be sort of swirly inside. So, you know, just go fairly gentle, but don't worry if you do get a bit of raspberry spreadage. I wouldn't make this with any, I don't think I would make it with any other soft fruit actually, because raspberries are sharp and you need that sharpness to counteract the sweetness, so I wouldn't make it with strawberries, for example. I think that would be too sweet. And then I'm just going to cover this with some cling film, and then pop it in the fridge. So I'm now just going to pop this into the fridge. It has to chill for at least 6 hours. So I know that seems like a long time, but you're not doing anything. And if, for example, you needed this at tea time or for the evening, then just make sure you've made it first thing in the morning. Chill it for that number of hours, and then you can bring it out and finish it off just before you serve it. So we will see you back later in the show when we'll be finishing it off and giving it a taste.
Who would have thought it? Cheesecake is Greek.
Greek?
My goodness. Via the Romans. Everything's via the Romans.
Everything's via the Romans.
Most certainly is. If only the Egyptians had taken it too, I'd be an extremely happy man. How good does that look? Oh my goodness. And for all of you people out there who don't like baking...
Yeah, perfect.
Just give it a go. Honestly, it will bring joy to your heart and your stomach when you eat it.
It's not like a traditional baked cheesecake at all. I don't think it tastes anything like that.
Well, no, it doesn't, because a traditionally baked cheesecake tastes cheesy.
Yeah, it doesn't taste cheesy at all. It's light. It tastes like it's light tasting, I think.
Well, they're going to find all that out in part 2. So yes, you will be finishing off your cheesecake later on in the show, and some of the finishing touches actually are just beautiful. I mean, you've already done one of the cool ones where you put the coulis in the middle of the cake. I thought that was clever.
Did you laugh at my tea strainer? Don't even go there, I'm so embarrassed. Dan Jones,
yes.
What's off your needle?
It's not very often that's happened in the history of the Bakery Bears podcast. Why did she have to do that? Because she has one thing and I have two. What should I show first? Well, as they're on a blocker...
You might as well show those.
I might as well show these. Folks, the Dan and Lara project, my supposed year-long sock knitting quest, which has ended up being a year and 3 months.
That's not bad.
No, and I've done 9 pairs in total.
Well, that's amazing, really. I think that's fantastic.
Well, it is for me.
Would be for anybody, wouldn't it, really?
So these...
Oh, these are lovely.
Yeah. With the help of Kay and Erica, I have knit my first ever fingering weight socks. And also, I'm being extremely mean, with the help of Kay, Erica and Nicole.
Yes.
How lucky am I? Because this yarn is stupidly amazing. And please tell me about the other 2 skeins of this that you have.
I've got 2 more skeins. It's Nicole C. Mendez and it's her soft sock base. She does a few bases, but the one I've been using is soft sock.
And what skeins do you have?
I've got Avada Kedavra.
Yes.
Which is like a neon green and grey, 2 shades of grey, I think, and a neutral.
Yeah.
And then I've got Shrieking Shack.
Right.
I always struggle to say that, which is kind of like autumny colours, browns and teals and that sort of thing.
Which can I have?
You can knit the Shriek.
You see, she's like...
I was severely thinking then. I think I've only got 2 skeins. Oh, and I've got a solid grey as well of the same base for heels and toes and cuffs.
Which can I have?
You can use the Shrieking Shack.
Are you sure?
Yeah.
I'll knit them for you.
Oh no, they've got to be for Bryony because they're Harry Potter colours.
They're both Harry Potter colours.
Oh, that's true. She'd prefer the Avada Kedavra colour, I know she would. So
well,
knit the Shrieking Shack then for me.
I mean, if you think I should knit them for Bryony, I'll knit them for Bryony.
Well, no, it's fine. If there's 2 skeins.
I'll knit anything on this base.
And this colourway is
amazing.
Love is in the Air. Really, really pretty. Pinks and purples and blue.
Now singing the song in my head. So I loved every single stage of this. I have loved knitting these, and I've not enjoyed knitting them quite so much with the opal on Magic Loop.
No, yeah, this is definitely it's a thicker yarn, isn't it? So I think that's maybe it's plump. It's fingering weight, but it's definitely plumper.
So then I feel like a fraud.
Opal. Why?
Because it's plumper.
I'm going to get good. I prefer knitting a nice plump fingering to a skinny one.
You know, if that opal just had a bit more body to it.
Don't start me on that again.
Well, no, I won't. But that's the fact.
I'm not allowed.
The facts are, if it felt like it had life, if it didn't feel quite so stringy, then I think I would feel differently. There's part of me that wants to knit another pair on Magic Loop to see how different it feels. But I don't think I'm going to do that.
No, there's no point, is there?
Because I like knitting on DPNs.
Yeah, they are lovely. And you knit these on 2.75mm, didn't you?
Yeah.
And they fit lovely. I actually prefer my socks to have a slightly looser fit. I don't like them being like so sucky in that you struggle to get them on. So these are perfect for me. I think they're lovely.
You wouldn't like the compression socks I have to wear for running?
No, I can't stand it. I can't stand.
I've got to say, they really wind me up getting those on. I mean, it's just such a... first thing on a morning, it's like 6:30 on a morning, and you're like fighting with socks trying to get them on your feet. It's like,
I don't like that feeling of tightness on, when you've got compression things like that.
I remember sports socks when I was at school as well being the same.
I know, Bryonies are the same.
You have to concertina them down, don't you? Get your toe in and then pull them up. You're like...
I have got another pair actually, because the problem with them as well is you wash... school sports socks, and they shrink every time because it's just rubbish material that they use, isn't it? They're lovely, aren't they?
There is my first What's Off Your Needles.
Lovely.
Okay, Jones, what's off your needles?
I need the blockers.
Sorry. They look so lovely. I thought that they were on blockers.
No, it's because they've been blocked. It's like those ones
look,
now. Look,
I was putting these down.
Look, aren't they lovely when you take socks off blockers and they still look like they're on a blocker?
It is just the most lovely pattern. Go ahead and put yours on blockers.
Mine is. It is, yeah.
Do you know? And the heel. Whilst that heel is tricky, I need to get good at it.
Yeah, you found it tricky, but I mean, I don't. Well, it's tricky for some people. If you've never done it before,
it's tricky for you. And it just the colours are just. It's just like happy.
They're beautiful colours, and I cannot believe I let you use that skein. Actually, how much of it is there left? Where's the ball?
Not if to knit another pair.
Not even if I did contrast. Cuff seals and toes. How much is there? Where's the ball?
I don't know. I'll find it. Look, everyone wants to see.
Okay, sorry.
I'd like some shorty socks.
You want some shorty socks?
For summer.
All right.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, the next pair I knit you. Well, it's fine. It's not as much knitting, is it?
Yeah, it's fine. It's fine. I'd love some shorty socks.
All right.
I've realised that.
How short? Well, we'll talk about it. Yes. So this is a new design. It's currently in test knitting, so it's well on the way. So it should be out a couple of weeks maybe. And as Dan said, it was inspired by our trip to the seaside that we took when we filmed, when we went to Saltburn.
And that wonderful pier.
And the pier, it was the pier really, because
that is stunning.
Yeah, it's a Victorian pier, and it just got me thinking about what the seaside would have been like when, in the Victorian era.
When Lily Langtry was promenading up and down with the future King of England.
Yeah.
Classy and refined.
The dresses of the ladies and all those kinds of things. And I thought, do you know what? I'd like to design a pair of socks based on that. And I had it in my mind that I wanted to incorporate the feeling of the waves lapping on the shore, and then the pier running out into the sea. Maybe I'll show you the socks instead of just waffling on. I will show you them. They're called the promenade socks because that's what the ladies and gentlemen did down the pier. They promenaded up and down the pier. So that just seemed a perfect name for them. So here are the socks. It's a really pretty combination of garter and then this lace design. And the garter, I'll just hold one up actually, it's tricky holding two up. You've seen there are two.
What does it all signify, Kate?
The garter running down here is the waves, and that's the waves lapping up on the shore. And then the little lace design is the pier running out into the sea. So you've got the garter surrounding the pier. So you've got the sea surrounding the pier that's running out to the sea.
Wow.
So we've got a twisted stitch rib, and then those twisted stitches run into the twisted stitches of the lace sort of panels going down. So you've got obviously some twisted stitches, you've got a bit of lace, and you've got some garter, and it's a combination of that. And then I've done a slip stitch heel, square heel turn, and I've put in my umbrella toe again. But this time I've done contrast, so I've done a contrast heel, contrast toe, and the pattern is written telling you how to do that. It's written for Magic Loop, but obviously you can knit them DPNs, there's no restrictions on that. And the yarn, can you see how lovely and delicately speckled this yarn is? I wanted a soft colour, but with little pops of, you know, of the delicate, I'll hold it up, you can see there, look. It's just lovely. And this yarn is from Kelly, it's Kelly Lay's yarn. And the colourway is New Beginnings, and I just really love that name as well. It's just got a really nice feel to it. So it's Lay Family Yarn, it's Kelly's Etsy shop, and it's the New Beginnings, and it's a 75-25. And I did experiment this pattern with various bases, and I found that the base that had, this is like a 4-plied base, it's very round, that really showed up the twisted stitches really well, as opposed to like the 2-plied yarns. So I wanted specifically that base because I knew that it was multi-plied. And then the yarn for, I'll show you in the skein, this is what I've got left. It's just really, it's a really pretty pale green, sort of slightly minty green, with all these little speckles of pink and mint and gold. It's really, really nice. And then the yarn for the heels and toes, I did originally start knitting the heel with a solid contrast, but I found it to be too stark against the delicate nature of this particular yarn. So I pulled that out, and I'm actually using just some leftovers of one of my own yarns. It's exactly the same base, so it's actually my Jervo base. This colourway is Sugared Violet. So it's like this lavender with specks of a chestnut, bits of blue in there. It's just really, really pretty. And I thought it just went really nicely with the delicate colour of the yarn for the sock. And there are charts.
Yes.
Thanks to my lovely husband.
Aha.
There are charts as well as a written instruction for the pattern.
I am the yin to her yang.
Well, you know, I cursed and you know, I was like,
I am the Hastings to your Poirot.
I just really felt, it's not a difficult pattern at all, but it just seemed a great opportunity to really get a chart in there.
I am the Corbett to your Barker.
Gosh, how many more can you do? Morecambe to Wise.
Yes, I am the Morecambe to your Wise.
I'd be Wise, wouldn't
Yes.
I? You'd be Morecambe,
Yes.
for absolute certain.
Oh, I love him so much.
I'm not stupid enough. Yeah, so there's charts and there's written instructions as well. And there's 3 sizes, so small, medium and large, to cover all the bases.
They are just gorgeous, Kate.
They're lovely, and because the one, you know, what I really love about this pattern, it's so squishy. The garter in it does 2 things actually. The first thing it does is it really evens out the pattern, because when you knit garter, it makes everything do this, doesn't it? So even before these were blocked, they kind of looked the same, you know, the pattern sort of looked the same, because that garter is evening everything out. So that's one thing it did. And then the other thing it did is it just made it so squishy. So although it's a lace pattern and it's very open and quite open and lacy, they're still really squishy. And I love that. I mean, if you feel the fabric.
Oh yeah.
It's just really nice and squishy, and so yes, it's sort of a summery design, but it still has that comfort feeling of a really squishy, lovely sock. So yeah, I'm really, really pleased with them.
Cool.
Really pleased.
Can I have the blockers?
They will be out as soon as my lovely testers get finished.
Exciting. They're absolutely beautiful. And I'm just thinking, Kay, I need to knit a pair of your socks, don't I?
You do, because you never have.
No. So the Shrieking Shack.
Yes.
What could I knit? What would be applicable?
Well,
what would work?
You could either do the prairie socks.
Sounds good.
That would work.
I
would start with the prairie socks. I think you'll enjoy that.
Would the rest be too taxing for me?
No, not at all, no.
Right.
You could do the drippity drop.
I'll do the prairie socks.
A prairie socks I think would look, because I know that looks really nice in self-striping.
Yes. It's my final what's off my needles today? It's the Stree socks.
Yay!
They're all finished, Brian. I can have them now. This is not my best work.
I won't say anything.
To say the least. But look, those are my best work.
Yeah, definitely.
These are not.
They've got their issues, but look, Bryony like them. They
One has
fit her
a
feet.
ginormous heel flap.
Yes, it does.
and there are other issues. There's loose stitches and...
I think your gauge was just for some reason all over the place.
I did the worst job ever of picking up
Yeah.
on the corner because of the patterning. I probably should have done a single stitch pickup.
Yeah.
But you know, they look fine. They look fine. What are you talking about,
If
woman?
you just glance at them quickly and then look away, they look
Have
great.
a close look. There's nothing wrong with these.
He's surreptitiously
Look,
covering the heels.
Look, there we go, look.
You can't really tell on the blocker, but you know, it doesn't matter.
No.
It's, you know, they're fine. And they're a lovely colour.
Stop pointing out my foibles.
Very autumny, aren't they? And I've reinvented this colourway, tweaked it slightly, and this is now autumn term at Hogwarts that I dyed up in the last one. It's had a tweak, it's got a bit more pink in it, but I used it for the basis of that colourway, so that was fun as well.
Dan Laura project is in the bag, baby.
Finished? Is that it finished?
It was finished 3 months ago, but I've now finally finished.
But this was the last pair?
No, both of those were pairs.
Have you only got one pair of socks on the needles now then?
Yeah.
That was your goal, but that was your goal.
It was my goal.
Right.
And it is my goal.
Right. But you're talking about casting on another pair, is that
Well,
right?
I am, because the ones that are on the needles don't really count, because it's magic loop.
Oh, right, okay.
I want a DPN pair of socks on the needles.
Okay.
And I'm doing that magic loop, you know, for a reason. That's you know, to learn the skill. Tutorial series for all of you lovely guys, and you know, there's a start point and an end point, and done. I want one pair of DPN socks on the go, and that's my staple, I think.
Oh, isn't that lovely?
It is.
That's so satisfying, isn't it?
Yeah.
Do you know I'd never wear them?
No.
I'd just knit them and stack them up like this.
Yeah.
Because that is it's a beautiful thing to look at. It's so satisfying.
You should make a stack of all your socks.
I know, it'd be like this.
Well, no, you should. It'd be fun.
Yeah.
Look.
They look lovely.
We want to finish off our cheesecake.
We do.
We want to eat some of it. So let's go and do just that.
Yes. Okay, so our cheesecake has had its chilling time. I actually left this overnight. Mary Berry does suggest 6 hours minimum, or ideally overnight. So I've got my cheesecake, I've got my raspberries, and I've got my coulis. So all we need to do now is just decorate the top with the raspberries, drizzle some coulis, and we will be done. Now, how you place the raspberries on top is entirely up to you. What I'm going to do is I'm going to sort of put them all around the outside and just work in sort of circles into the middle. I think if you start in the middle, you know, you've got to be sure you get bang in the middle, so I feel like this is going to be a safer way. These raspberries are enormous, actually. So I'm just going to work them all the way around and just work in circles to the middle. Okay, so that's all our raspberries, and now we need to take our coulis and just basically drizzle as much as you want. I would say I've got quite a lot here, and it would be nice just to have a bit left to add, you know, if people want to add their own a little bit more. But I'm just gonna freestyle some drizzles all the way over the top. That's probably enough for me, and that leaves loads of coulis left to just put on the table and let your guests just add a bit more if they want to. So now we've got to take the sides off, obviously, and get it onto a plate. Now, what Mary suggests is that you can actually leave the metal base on the bottom and just put it on the plate. It can sometimes be a bit of a faff. Now, I mean, I'll have a look at it because I did line it with that baking parchment, so we should be able to get it off the base, but let's just see how it goes. So I've already run a palette knife around the outside just to loosen the outside. So now, hopefully, fingers crossed, if we just undo this, it should just come away. Yes. Oh, it looks lovely. Look at the drizzles. That looks really nice. So we've got that baking parchment underneath. So what I'm going to try and do is get underneath with the palette knife and go underneath the baking parchment. If you feel like it's not going to come off, then I wouldn't bother trying. I would just leave it on the metal plate. This does feel, and I've left, I think I didn't go underneath the baking parchment there actually. I think that is now, yes, it has come off. So let's just go around. So, oh, this is tricky. I'm going to take out the palette knife and use a fish slice because I feel safer. There we go. Over to the plate. Perfect. And we've actually left the baking parchment on the tray, which I think is brilliant. Didn't cause a problem. So there we go. It looks delicious, doesn't it? Bit of spillage there, we'll not look at that. Beautiful, so there is your white chocolate and raspberry cheesecake. So now all that's left to do is to try a slice. I'm so excited. Look how good it looks. Oh, I'm so excited. I'm going to try some. Are we ready? It's the first time I've ever eaten cheesecake at 9:38 in the morning, but hey, here we go. Oh my goodness. Do you know what? It's not heavy at all. I was kind of thinking, you know, cheesecake can be cloyy, can't it, and heavy. This is not heavy at all. Oh, it's beautiful. It's really light actually. Very summery with the raspberries. Not overly sweet because that, you know, the coulis and the raspberries are cutting through the sweetness of the white chocolate. It's absolutely gorgeous. Perfect for summer. Perfect for a family gathering, a special occasion. I don't think you'd find anybody that didn't like this. It doesn't taste like, you know, a cheesecake that Dan wouldn't like because he's not keen on the baked ones. This is fantastic, so I would encourage you all to give this a try. A no-bake cheesecake, fantastic. So I'm going to go off and finish this at 9:38 in the morning, and we will see you back next month for more Pudding Club.
Talk about the perfect pudding for summer.
It absolutely is.
That's the one. Close second is the meringue roulade.
The meringue, yes.
It's close. It's close, but, you know, kudos to you for pulling out, you know, such an... I was gobsmacked at the history. I was honestly thinking, what is Kay going to talk about? You know, are we going to have to delve into coulis? Because I thought cheesecake would be like, you know...
I'm thinking coulis will be a modern ingredient.
100 years old, maybe.
Right.
But no, thousands and thousands of years old. It's delicious.
It is delicious.
And I'm told that...
I only had one piece, I was good.
I'm told that an appropriate replacement for the digestive is the graham cracker.
Really?
Yes.
Why do they call it a cracker? if it's a biscuit?
I've got no idea.
So the graham cracker is like a digestive?
Yes.
I had no idea.
Yes.
I presumed it was like a square cream crackerish type thing.
And
wow.
I'm also aware of the fact that you can certainly get gluten-free digestives.
You can, I'm certain you can.
If you got... I'd be shocked then if there wasn't a gluten... Now, just let me backstep a moment. Whilst a graham cracker is a great substitute for a digestive, I have actually found digestives available online in the States.
Right.
So if you're in America and you're wanting to make that and you're thinking, what can I use? Well, I looked and I found a number of places. If you just Google digestive biscuits, you're going to get some hits and you're going to be able to get some. And I would say do it because they're delicious.
Do you know what might work as well?
What?
Ginger nuts.
Yeah, you could try that.
Ginger nut biscuits, that might work too.
You could try that. Definitely try that.
But ginger with the raspberry, I think, might work.
If you've got a gluten-free digestive or a gluten-free graham cracker, if there is such a thing, it's gluten-free then, isn't it?
I think so, isn't it?
If you need gluten-free stuff, you'll know better than we do.
You will.
So that's it for this episode's Pudding Club, but it will, of course, be back. It'll be back next month. And I don't know how you're going to better those last two.
I know, I've no idea, actually.
Get your thinking cap on.
I think the weather's been inspiring me in the last couple of recipes, definitely.
Cool.
Because they haven't been puddingy puddings. Do you know what I mean?
No.
Just because it's so blooming warm.
Well, just like last time and the time before, actually, just relax for a couple of weeks and then
have a
get in the zone, baby. That's it. It's the Endy Bits.
Wow, Endy Bits.
Endy Bits, indeedy.
So we've got the Summer of Sorcery knit along still ongoing. There's loads of chatter in the Ravelry group. There are masses of finished items.
And now we've established there's going to be one more finished item.
Because you're casting on sauce.
Yes.
All right. Yeah, and they're Harry Potter inspired.
Yes.
So you can
Shrieking
have that.
Shack, thank you.
Shrieking Shack.
Yes.
You can have that.
Thank you very much.
So keep knitting all of your sorcery projects and your magical projects and chatter away in that thread by all means. There's always lots of chatter going on. Show us your half-done objects and yarns that you're working with and everything else.
I love sauce.
You love sauce?
Yeah.
What type of sauce?
Brown.
Brown sauce?
Yeah.
When's the last time you had brown sauce?
Recently on beans.
Oh, did you?
Yeah, and then I put some cheese on the top. When you said sorcery, it made me think of sauce.
Oh, right.
And there is, and I can't remember what it is. It's some sort of steak. There's an American equivalent of brown sauce.
Really?
Yes. It's some steak sauce. I can't remember which one it is, but what I'm going to do is, in the show notes below, I'm going to stick the page where I found all these things.
Right.
It's all on one page, article written by some American person,
right.
and they'd compared lots of English things and
right.
offered up an American equivalent.
Oh, that's interesting, isn't it?
Yeah, so in the
I
show
can't
notes.
stand brown sauce. HP sauce we're talking about. I never realised that the HP stands for Houses of Parliament.
That's why the
doesn't it?
Houses of Parliament are
I
on the
know,
bottom.
and I never made that connection till fairly recently.
But there's such a wide range, because Daddy sauce is different to HP sauce.
Right, they're all brown sauce as we would call them, but yeah, there's different brands.
There's lots and lots of different...
Which one do you prefer?
HP sauce.
HP.
There's no competition.
Yeah, we've had Daddy's ones before, haven't we?
It's
But-
very nice.
Right.
Any brand
and we've got
sauce is pleasant.
Sainsbury's version as well.
It's
but-
fine.
And we have Sainsbury's ketchup, don't we? And that's fine.
Yeah, but Heinz does taste different.
Yeah.
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 Summer of Sorcery.
Yes.
Climb Every Mountain update.
Yes.
Check this out. Oh yes, Team Finds has reached the top of Mount Everest. They have covered the grand total so far. And this is sort of cool because we're halfway through the year pretty much. We're approaching in just a few days.
We could do another mountain by the end of the year.
We're going to.
I know.
We're going to do Kilimanjaro.
Kilimanjaro.
But this is where, obviously, as you can see there from the graphic, that Team Finds has reached the top. The little board of yarn is on the summit of Everest.
Yes.
Team Cool is not quite there yet. So Team Finds 15,002 feet, and Team Cool 9,107 feet.
So pretty good.
It's superb.
Not that far behind.
It is superb. It's much more even competition this
I
year.
should have counted my walk this morning.
I don't. Well, no. You don't, because
don't.
I've done that to the end of May. Oh, you didn't log it?
No.
Oh, you fool.
I don't know what to do.
Well, I'll show you.
I've no idea.
You can manually input it.
I don't know how far it was.
I'll know.
All right.
Yes, there we go. So, Kate's walk will be on the mileage. You are, of course, on. Oh, but then you'll be helping the walking team. You're
But
wonderful.
I don't. Yeah, I don't put my knitted projects in.
Oh, okay.
Because if I enter mine, that could affect somebody who wins, couldn't it?
Yeah, so you can't.
So I can't.
But you can with the walking.
I knew there was a reason.
Yes.
But with the walking. So I can help the walkers, but not the knitters. That seems a bit...
The knitters are doing just fine.
Believe me, I don't walk enough for it to have that big of an impact.
No, that is not true. Even just a mile or two. And I was, for those of you who don't know, anyone can get involved with Team Cool. So if you would like to help with the walking or the running team, there is a thread. It's linked to the show notes below. You can find out how you can get involved, and you can help us climb the rest of Everest and then onto Kilimanjaro. Knitters, that is our year-long patron-only Cal.
Yeah.
Summer Resourcery, though, of course, anyone. Absolutely anyone can join.
We've got masses of prizes. I think actually what I'm going to do with the prizes, I think I've got sort of about 16 prizes. So practically, I think it makes sense. I'm going to make little bundles of prizes and probably have 5 or 6 winners.
Wonderful.
So I'll make some lovely bundles of prizes, which I think will be fantastic. We've never done that before.
No.
So it'd be lovely to have a little bundles of things. So there might be a pattern, a skein of yarn and some stitch markers, something like that.
What else have you got?
Right, I've got a couple of purchases.
Cool.
One of them's up here. Do you like my little lavender? Look, I picked some lavender from the garden this morning, and this is a little jug that my mum gave me. I think it's like a little milk jug. It's really sweet, isn't it, with some lavender in. Smells lovely. But there's one of them up here that I bought. When we went back to Saltburn to take photos for the promenade socks, and gosh, it was a windy day, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Oh my word, it was hilarious. I was like, I hooked the socks on the pier, on the railings, and I was terrified they were going to go flying off because it was like a gale force wind. I was like holding on to them at the top.
Disaster.
Oh, it was awful, but we managed. Another reason I wanted to go back to Saltburn is because I didn't get to go to the yarn shop that's there. Dan went, if you remember. Yeah, it's called Ripping Yarns.
Will be featured in a future issue of Knitability.
Brilliant. And I really wanted to go because I very rarely go to yarn shops.
Because the one in town
that we always
used to go to is she's retiring.
She's retiring.
That's why it's being shut.
The lady in the Ripping Yarn shop told us that she was actually closing. So it was lovely. And do you know what? It was a lovely shop.
It's a great shop.
Gosh, it was really nice.
I'll link it below because they do have an online shop.
Yeah, and it was really light and airy. It's got a big window at the front, and all the yarn, she had some absolutely beautiful yarns. Lots of sort of traditional British wool shop yarns, if you know what I mean by that. But then she also had like West Yorkshire spinners. She had some Erica Knight, lots of Jameson and Smith, all sorts. She had all sorts. So I did pick up a couple of things, and I saw these on the shelf. Well, these were just irresistible. They're by Sheepies. I know it's not pronounced Sheepies, but it's that word. And I know you don't pronounce it like that, but I've no clue how to pronounce it. And it's the Whirl. And it's these ones, these huge gradients. Look at those colours. You get a ridiculous amount of yardage, 1,000 metres. 1,000 metres, and it's a fingering weight yarn.
You could get at least one pair of socks for me out of that.
Well, I think it might be a light fingering, I'm not sure, but it's around about that weight. It's 60% cotton and 40% acrylic. Now, I know I say that I don't buy acrylic, but I kind of made an exception for this because it's largely cotton. And I was just thinking about summer knits and things like that, and this just seemed a lovely thing to try. The colourway that I've got is Melting Macaron, which is a lovely colourway name, isn't it? And it goes from this beautiful, it's got blue, then lavender, then a gorgeous green and pink and lemon. So it's perfect colours for me. And I've got thoughts of maybe designing something with it, or maybe knitting some kind of big stole or scarf or something that will take advantage of the size of the skein because it's massive. I think there's like 200 and odd grams, 1,000 metres. So, I mean, that's brilliant for... And I think there's lots and lots of projects using this yarn on Ravelry. I actually had a quick look and there's loads and loads and loads. So I'm going to have a longer look through just for some inspiration and just what it looks like knit up. But it was just so pretty sat on the shelf like that. I just said, oh, do you know what? I've got to get that. So I got that. And then I also picked up another ball of King Cole Zigzag. because I really like the feel of this yarn, and it's very reasonably priced for a sock yarn. It's on the newer base, the 7525 base, and this colour just spoke to me. It kind of reminded me of Christmas, but with pink. So it seemed brilliant, you know, for Christmas socks, and I really want to knit us all Christmas socks this year, so we've got a pair of Christmas socks on Christmas Eve to wear.
I'm too excited about my shorty socks. As soon as we finish, can we talk about them?
Yes.
Thanks.
So I think this will be the pair for me, because it's Christmassy but with pink. And then I've got some yarn for Dan's actually that I got in the batch of German yarn that I bought. So I just need to pick some for Bryony. But it just looks fun to knit up. I think that'll be really nice. So I picked those up from Ripping Yarns. So definitely, you know what kind of saddened me a bit when we were in the shop? We were chatting to the lady in there, and she was saying that even some days, because the funicular railway hasn't been working for months, it stopped people going up into the town. So even though you can walk up, we walked up, didn't we? Just walked up the steps, and yes, it's steep, but you know, it's okay. Gives you a bit of exercise. So instead of people going up to the town like they would do normally on the funicular, they've just been staying down on the beach, and it's affected the little town at the top. If you go to Saltburn and you go into the beach, please just go up to the town, because it's a lovely little town, isn't it?
Best sweet shop I've ever been in.
There's a lovely
and a
sweet
superb
shop.
Yarn shop.
There's a great yarn shop. There's some very nice looking charity shops, I've got
And
to say.
you get to see the proper history of a really amazing place.
Some
you can go look at that
fantastic
hotel.
houses on the front.
Yeah.
I can just imagine what it would have looked like.
And
in
that's why it's worth
Victorian.
going and having a look.
It's definitely worth walking up the hill if the railway's still not working. Although it looked like it was about ready to open, didn't it?
Yeah.
So fingers crossed. And then the other thing that I got was something I totally forgot about again. I pre-ordered some yarn, and when this came, I said to you, didn't I? I have not ordered this yarn. I was absolutely convinced I had not ordered this yarn. And then I went, oh, hang on a minute, I did. I just totally forgot. So it's great pre-ordering yarn, because you just forget. This is from Giddy Yarns. It's Helen at Giddy Yarns. And I saw this on her Instagram feed, and I was like, oh, I've got to get some of that. And it's her Love Hearts colourway. And it's just all of these pretty, if you know the Love Heart sweets, it's just all of these pretty, gorgeous, Love Hearty, sweetie colours in one of these amazing gobstopper balls. I don't know how people have the patience to do this with every skein of yarn. I really don't, but doesn't it look beautiful? It's too nice to knit with at the minute.
Looks like mine.
Isn't it lovely? Oh, it's gorgeous. And then she also included a little gift, which is a set of her minis, a mini set called Beside the Sea. How appropriate is that? A really pretty mini skein set. Ooh, super lovely. So
you should make that a prize for the promenade socks.
well, I know, I might do that. I did say to her, you know, should I use these as a prize? And she said, oh, it's up to you, keep them if you want to.
Promenade socks, knit
along. But thinking about it, they make the perfect prize for the. I've not thought about doing a knit along.
Well,
maybe
of course.
we should. Maybe we should. And then this could be a prize, couldn't it, for it?
Yeah.
It's perfect beside the sea. They're really pretty, lovely colours. So thank you so much, Helen, for that. That was really kind, and I can't wait to knit up the Love Hearts once I've got over how lovely it is. I've just had it sat on my desk and just keep looking at it because it's so pretty.
Are you finished?
I believe so.
Thank goodness.
Yeah, no, well, that's nice.
Thank you so much for watching. Next episode, New Adventures is back.
Yes.
And we're joined by the wonderful Robin from the Stitching Between
Robin,
Pages podcast.
I wish she actually was going to be there with us.
Know. One day that will happen. One day, Robin.
I would love, more than
Can you imagine?
anything, I would love to sit down with Robin and have a conversation.
No. Yes.
I think she's such a, I think she would be, you could talk forever to Robin, I think.
It's been an absolute
and she's a ballet dancer.
Privilege and pleasure to work with Robin again. You know, you're wonderful. So that's all coming.
You are wonderful.
Next episode. Don't miss it, because, honestly, we've said this a few times. If you remember, I mentioned in episode 100, I was talking about shifting around the order of some of our new adventures just because I was so excited about them. And Kay told me, stop it, calm down. There's an order for a reason, and there is. So yeah, it's going to get seriously exciting over the next few episodes of New Adventures, as it is doing, as you've seen today, in the Pudding Club. So thank you so much for watching. We'll be back in 2 weeks with more. And in the meantime, of course, there'll be all the usual tutorials on a Tuesday and specials on a Thursday, and who knows what else is on the way. So thank you so much, and we'll see you in 2 weeks.
Thanks, everyone.
I was sitting and knitting, it's Dan and Kay, the bakery bears. Enthusiasm's not quitting for Dan and Kay, the bakery bears. They'll take you to fabulous places of which their favorites they'll share. You better buy a pattern and get yourself a bakery bear. You'll find yourself in a castle while watching the bakery bears. It never feels like a hassle to sit and watch the bakery bears. What's on your shelf or what's in your eye?